Let's get ready to rock with another big-time weekend for Alabama football recruiting.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. We'll talk about FanDuel in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks for everybody for making us your first listen every single day. Kind of screwed it up. When I'm on the road, I screw up things. I also start off with my DJ voice, which I'm not even sure a DJ would like. So
I would definitely go to a party if you're spinning the vinyl.
I hope you're prepared to hear it's raining men several times. Okay. So, all right. So, Alabama's got
came up with that song title shockingly quick.
I did. That was unfortunate. All right. So, another big weekend for Alabama, and Bama Online has done a good job saying, telling us to meet the visitors. Here are the defenders, and here are the offenders.
The offenders. We don't say that enough.
We don't say that enough. It should
we say defenders, but we never say offenders. And why not? And
it should be. But, one of the ones that's probably the most intriguing is Matt Ponatowski. Mm-hmm. Is sort of him or Jet Thomalla or bust is what it feels like at quarterback. Of course, right now. I mean, things could certainly change.
By the way, they are bringing quarterbacks to camp this summer. So there is a backup plan to the backup plan, if you want to call it that. They are bringing in guys with no offers that they're inviting to camp to take a peek, like the quarterback from Destrehan, Louisiana, for instance.
Yeah, but if you want to see people lose their minds, let Alabama sign a quarterback that's not Ponatowski or Thomalla at this point.
Hey, do you remember about a month or two ago when I was talking about, hey, just bring some guys to camp with FCS offers. One of them will end up good. And I talked about 3 kids from Mobile, Sammy Dunn from Viger, Alvin Dinklins from Williamson, and Aiden Schamberger from Spanish Fort. Sammy Dunn from Viger committed to Army this week.
Oh, wow.
I thought was interesting.
That is very interesting. I mean, because committing to Army is a bigger commitment than most commitments.
It is, and for people say, oh, he's going to run the option. These service academies are throwing the ball more than they used to. I mean, they want quarterbacks that throw the ball now. I mean, they're sort of transforming their offense. Sammy Dunn's a good passer. It's also athletic to run the option, but he'll be a good fit there and a great personality fit at Army. But it just shows how, I mean, I wasn't kidding that kid could really play. Now, is he Alabama good, SEC good? Obviously doesn't have that sort of offers, but a great kid, and I wish him well.
So let's talk about Matt Ponatowski for a second. I mean, look, if you're asking me, based on just the limited film I've seen on both and what I believe, I would go Jet Thomalla. But I understand Matt Ponatowski very good as well. He also plays in Cincinnati, which is inherently going to have better competition, I think, than what Jet Thomalla has played. It doesn't mean that doesn't make him any better. It just means he may be more experienced against good players, because when you play for that Cincinnati squad, they got dudes over there playing high school football.
Yeah, they do. And Ponatowski's at Moeller, which is one of, Moeller High School, which is a major national power. I mean, that's the one, like if you ask, okay, what high school in Ohio has the most football tradition as a powerhouse? It's Moeller. I mean, that's a slam dunk in terms. It's kind of a Hoover, Thompson type Central Phoenix City type program, and he's the quarterback. He has been for multiple years. How about this? I'm brain farting on the third guy, but Ponatowski became the 3rd high school player in U.S. history to be the Gatorade Player of the Year in both football and baseball. Only 3 people have done it. One of the others is Joe Mauer, who was.
I mean, would Jameis Winston have been the other?
No.
Wow.
No. It is a guy that played football and not baseball. The guy that stuck with baseball was Mauer, who ended up, I don't think Mauer's in the Hall of Fame, but he would be in the Minnesota Twins Hall of Fame. He was like a 12, 14-year all-star catcher for the Minnesota Twins.
Am I even saying that Mauer was committed to Alabama for baseball?
I think Alabama recruited Mauer. I don't know that he ever committed here, and he didn't sign here, but Alabama was involved in some way. He was a quarterback, and ended up being a catcher
I remember
at the big league level. Yeah. It was late 80s, I think, or maybe early 90s. But anyway,
I think it was the installing era. Yeah.
just shows what a big deal it is for Ponatowski to be Gatorade Player of the Year in baseball and football both, and how rare that is.
Well, not only that, he was Gatorade Player of the Year in 2024, which means he did it as a junior in the state of Ohio, which isn't screwing around. I mean, look, if you're in Idaho, and again, I don't mean any offense to anybody in Idaho. I'm sure we got some watching. But if you win Player of the Year in Idaho for 3 straight years, let's be real. I mean, you don't have much competition as a dude who does that in the state of Ohio or Alabama or in Georgia or wherever like that. Winning Player of the Year in Bama, Ohio, Georgia, Texas, something like that, as a junior or God forbid sophomore it's
a big deal.
Kind of ridiculous.
When we look back on it, how about Ryan Williams winning Mr. Football in Alabama in the 10th grade?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That I was
same thing.
That up for you.
And Mr. Football and Gatorade Player of the Year are 2 different awards, but it's in the same vein.
Boy, you know what? I'm hoping that I think what I did is I did not put on my volume, and everything will sound a little better now. It doesn't. I only get to hear me in my ears, so I just changed it over to my microphone. I hope that's better.
I didn't pick up anything different, by the way.
Okay.
I mean, to me, it sounds the same.
Well, good for you. So Ponatowski, we like him. I mean, boy, I might have talked myself into liking Ponatowski more than Thomalla.
Ponatowski reminds me in every way of Dylan Lonergan.
That's very
from his ranking to his high school story to the baseball thing to the quarterback to the fact that Dylan Lonergan was at Brookwood, which is a major power in the state of Georgia. I think someone told me that has the highest enrollment of any high school in the state of Georgia, and Lonergan was a quarterback there for 2 or 3 years. Ponatowski being at Moeller, I'm telling you. And then you watch the tape; they're kind of real similar guys, and I consider that a great thing because I think Lonergan's going to be very good. Now, I don't think had Lonergan stayed, he would have beaten out Ty, and I don't even think he'd beat out Keelen Russell. That doesn't mean that Lonergan's not really good, and I think he'll be real at Boston College.
By the way, I'm in Boston, for those who don't know right now. I'm in Boston.
Say hi to Dylan.
Boston College is right here. I might go see what I can find out.
Say hi to old Dylan. You know, how about this for a coincidence? I bet you don't know this, but while you're in Boston, you should know this. Dylan's not a slam dunk to be the starter. He's in competition with another kid at Boston College, and the kid that might beat him out, who's the returning guy, the guy that beat out Castellanos a year ago that became their quarterback, he was the starting quarterback at Duncanville before Keelen.
What? That is very interesting.
How about that?
By the way, before we go any further, condolences to Keelen Russell's family. I don't know the specifics. I saw this right before I went to bed last night. I've got to go to an expo, but I saw on Bama Online and on Twitter that Keelen Russell lost his twin sister, who was planning to come to Alabama in the fall. They said that it's not. They're not ruling it anything. There's no investigation into a homicide.
We don't have a public cause yet. Yeah.
And I don't care what it is. I can't imagine what he's going through, and it breaks my heart. I mean, it breaks my heart for anybody because we're Jimmy. We're getting that age. I know you've certainly been there, but my mom, for those who don't know, my mom's been going through some breast cancer stuff and some other type of cancers, and all through the chemo. And my parents are in their 80s now, and I've been very fortunate. My grandparents lived into their 90s. My parents are in, right on the cusp of their 80s. Most of my uncles are still here, the ones I'm very close with, at least. And so I haven't had a lot of loss like that, and it's starting to sink in. I'm about to feel that. I can't imagine what I would have felt if I had lost, say, my brother when I was going into college. I just can't imagine it. I mean, it's tragedy. So certainly, I mean, I know everybody says what good does it do, but thoughts and prayers with Keelen Russell and his family just breaks my heart. But so let's go back to some of the offenders. Because
the offenders?
The offenders. Yeah, we're talking offenders now. Derek, listen, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Derek Cooper. I don't think he ends up at Alabama. Now, he might.
It's impressive that they've gotten this far.
That's where I was going with this.
Impressive that they've gotten this far, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I'm fired up that we're this far down the road. And I know it's a zero-sum game where you either get him or you don't. But
for those that don't know, Derek Cooper's a top 5, if not a top 2 running back nationally from Miami that is kind of considered a strong probability to sign with Miami, and it has been the whole time. But he's listened to Coach Gillespie in Alabama, despite the fact he knows that E.J. Kroll is who sits atop the Alabama board at his position. Derek Cooper's atop every other board in every other place. I mean, in terms of, because, he didn't reclassify. He's been the number one back in the 26 group, or among the top backs in the 26 group the whole time. But I'm with you, dude. I think you're exactly right. I don't think this could happen.
Here's the deal, Jimmy. And you say, well, why are you so happy that they're making inroads with this guy if you don't think we're going to get him? Because in today's day and age, you know what a lot of kids may do? They may go back and when they want to transfer, and a lot of kids do, they may go, where did I really want to go? I wanted to go to the place that made me feel the best. Yeah. I ended up in Miami because of local pressure, because it was safe, or because of whatever, because they offered the most money, whatever. But it hadn't worked out. And now I want to look at a place. Yes, I'm going to get paid, but I also want to look at a place that I feel comfortable. And I feel like Alabama's doing a good job of that. And what you're doing is hopefully you build these relationships, and you never know about building relationships.
That's why today it's so easy to imagine the conversation at the end of his visit. He's in DeBoer's office, and let's just say hypothetically, the conversation happens when DeBoer's like, well, what do you think? And he's like, I love it here, but coach, I'm going to be honest. I think I'm going to stay home and play for Miami. And in today's world, the answer to that is great. Congratulations. We wish you all the luck in the world. We're glad that you came. And if things don't work out, keep us in mind. We'd still love to have you. That's how that conversation works now. In the old days, once you signed, you were gone forever. You're begging and pleading on your knees, walking out the door, going, "Please reconsider, please reconsider." Now it's like, okay, all right, the door's open if anything changes. And frankly, it's a lot more friendlier situation than it used to be.
By the way, that's how I handled all my breakups in college too.
Yeah, of course.
And once I learned that if I just said, "Fly free, young butterfly," then I would always think they could come back.
They could come back. They never did. They never did, but it was a better strategy than the groveling.
I was much better at the groveling, though.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just maximized my screen. I'm sorry about that. All right. Things that are also really good, and that's FanDuel. I mean, FanDuel is the best. I'm not playing around. The NBA playoffs, they start their culmination tonight. I don't even know if that sentence is grammatically correct, but I know that the NBA finals begin tonight, and it's going to be highlight-worthy performances out the yin-yang. It's going to be wonderful. Major momentum shifts, can't miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before the tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and to win big. Look, if you're new to FanDuel, and most of y'all probably aren't, but if you are, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get 200 in bonus bets. It's like, here's money. You take it. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports bet book partner of the NBA.
Game really tonight. I like the Thunder at home.
I like the Thunder at home too. I like the Thunder to win the whole thing, but yeah. I mean, I'm kind of pro Indiana just because they feel like
they're fine.
I don't know if you can call anybody in the NBA blue collar. They feel blue collar.
Yeah, they are. And Halliburton is one of the better. He's maybe the best player in the world. Few people knew going into the playoffs, but no, this just feels like SGA's year to me. I mean, he's the MVP. It's his seat. Sometimes it's one superstar season, and it's just SGA's season to me. So he's gonna win all the trophies.
Another visitor coming in this weekend that I don't think Alabama will get, but I like him a lot, and that's Caden Prothro, the number tight end in the country out of Georgia. And so, of course, eventually he will sign with Georgia, and then ultimately he may transfer. So, again, it's the same kind of situation. I like this guy a lot, 6'6", 220 pounds. Look, if he keeps growing, he's going to be Austin Mack size.
Yeah, I like how you put that. Also, here's another thing to think of. We used to say in recruiting before the portal, we used to say, whether you came in second or whether you came in 90th doesn't matter. It matters now. Now it does matter because if you make that great impression, and so many, well, I mean, I don't even know what the percentage is right now because it changes every year, but more and more kids transfer. So you just do the best you can. And if the kid picks Georgia as expected, that's fine. The tight end to watch for Alabama's Mac Suter from Illinois, very highly ranked, very highly regarded. A lot of the Big Ten schools like him. Now we're fighting. At one point, it was like Alabama versus Illinois. Now it's like Alabama versus Ohio State. So, I mean, this is a big time kid, but he's the favorite to end up in the class for Alabama at tight end.
Then there's Sam Utu, U. And look, I like this guy a lot. He's the thumbnail picture on this particular episode, and I like Sam Utu a lot. I think he's a big cat. I love Samoan offensive and defensive linemen, so I'm 100% behind this. And I feel like of all the guys we've mentioned so far, this is the one Alabama has the best shot to sign.
Completely agree. This is a guy that would be on my class projection as of today. One of the things I like about him is positional versatility. I mean, is he going to be one of the tackles in the class, or is he going to be a guy you can slide inside the guard? I mean, this guy's got so many boxes checked. He can kind of do it all. Very mature, likes Alabama a lot. There's some crystal balls out there that say he's going to sign with Washington, but Alabama likes their position with him a lot. And I think Alabama's hoping that to seal the deal this weekend. This is a guy that I don't want to say commitment watch, so don't say I say commitment watch, but it wouldn't be shocking if there was an announcement fairly soon. In his case, I think that's a guess.
All right, let's move over to the defense now, where probably the most intriguing name for me now, I mean, all of them on the defense are really good and very intriguing, but I'm most interested in Jaquez Wilkes, and we've talked about him a ton, and people may be tired of us talking about him, but I like him a lot, and I just want to win this one. I just want to win this one to tick off Auburn as much as anything, which is a sad way to look at this, but that's sort of I'm in that vein. I'm also the DJ that plays It's Raining Men multiple times. So give me a break.
I love Wilkes, but this is the situation with him. Alabama probably just wants to sign one Wolf, maybe two. And the top Wolf on the board is Xavier Griffin, who's coming in this weekend. They love him. They also love the Brooks kid from Georgia. They love him a lot too. Now, Brooks is likely to sign with Georgia. Griffin, even though he's the guy Alabama wants and it's looking good, Griffin is so highly recruited by all these big NIL players that you can't be certain. So Wilkes might be your third thing, but also might be the most realistic. I mean, so I think this weekend is super interesting with Wilkes because I don't know. I think he might be at the top of Auburn's board and kind of an Auburn lean. And we've sort of admitted that all along, that it's probably an Auburn thing, but we really like this guy. Maybe this is the weekend things get serious. I do believe, in great reporting from BOL on his recruitment, I do believe he's got some Alabama fans around him, and they're going to enjoy that trip to Tuscaloosa. So things could really change this weekend with Jaquez Wilkes. And me and you would love that. We've been on the Wilkes train big time. That doesn't diminish at all what we think of Griffin and Brooks, who are deservingly higher ranked, in the recruiting world. But these kids are all good. I love Wilkes. And if he's a guy that does end up at Auburn, I'll be like, oh, well, they got a good one. But
what are you going to do?
Yeah, I know some people get upset about it. You know what? It doesn't bother me. We're in the SEC. We're going to play against good players. Everyone's going to have good players. Why are we shocked to find an SEC team like Auburn, like LSU? They're going to have good players, period.
Yeah, and I mean, you always just, as an Alabama fan, you can't stand it when Auburn gets somebody good.
Especially somebody that you like.
It works both ways.
Especially somebody you like, because I want this kid. I like this kid. But, it's not about – Fran said this. We talked about Fran with the College Football Hall of Fame. Oh, and shout out to my other buddy, Luke, who pointed out the real travesty is Chris Samuels not being in the College Football Hall of Fame. And I agree with that. Big Sam should be in the College Football Hall of Fame.
He's not?
He's not in the College Football Hall of Fame. Yeah.
By the way, I had a list the other day. I was going to tell you, Notre Dame has the most players in the College Football Hall of Fame, which makes sense because they were getting players in back when nobody, they were winning Heisman's with guys who went 3-7. So,
Yeah.
but I believe if there's one team that's going to begin to catch up now, Ohio State's always going to be in that. I think they're second, but Alabama's going to start when the Saban crew starts cycling through. We're about to have some dudes go through the Hall of Fame, and you're not going to be able to deny them.
Starts with Ingram, who's coming up, and then who knows, Julio,
Ingram, Derrick Henry,
Barrett
Julio,
Jones,
Rice, Barrett.
AJ McCarron.
Trent Richardson will be on there.
Very possible.
Amari. There's just Calvin. There's one name dudes coming.
Ryan
through.
Williams. Hope I didn't jinx
Then
him.
we just put him in preemptively. He's already in the National Football Hall of Fame.
He's been all over the place this week too.
I'm going to let you talk about the baseball and softball portal here in a second, but you're right about Ryan Williams having been all over the place. He's been on John Gruden. By the way, John Gruden, how about that guy just quietly making a comeback?
I'm a Gruden guy. I enjoy John Gruden talking football. I just enjoyed him talking football. He's such an expert, and he loves it so much, and he can talk complicated football with the everyday person like myself in such a conversationally great way. And I'm a big Gruden fan. I enjoyed the heck out of this episode with Ryan and
I did too.
Ryan and Zay Orton.
He's one of those guys that everybody canceled for something pretty innocuous. We've all sent an email or a text or said something in passing that probably wasn't the most PC thing we've ever said, no matter what race, religion, creed, nationality, whatever you are, gender. We've all said something that could be misconstrued or somebody else could find at least moderately offensive. And he got canceled, and he's just sort of made a comeback. I respect that. He didn't go out and campaign to make a comeback. He's just eventually we're like, come on back, John. You're all right. And he's just getting boxes.
It'll be interesting to see if this grows for him into back being in the good graces of the NFL. That will be interesting to me. But yes,
I'm so tired of the Pete Rose thing bothered me to no end forever, because I'm like, Daniel Tosh said it best. Wait a minute, Pete Rose isn't in the Hall of Fame, but we're going to let Babe Ruth, who had notorious vices coming out of his wazoo, and we're okay with him. And plus, by the way, Babe Ruth played in an era where there weren't any black people and there weren't any Cubans, there weren't any Latinos. It was just him teeing off against people, and we're okay with him. And I was like, that's actually funny and poignant.
It is crazy how we do cancel people for one thing and not for another. But I guess that's another locked on the problems in America.
That's a long title.
We're not gonna host that.
We're not. Let me tell you what. I know one thing for sure.
Speaking of being canceled, I'd be canceled in 10 minutes.
We'd be a subject, not a host. All right. So baseball and softball portal, Jimmy. I saw some baseball players already in the portal. I know some other people have too. And it's like, okay, most of the people I've seen are pitchers, and I do not mean this in a harmful, derogatory John Gruden way. I mean this in a let's be real way, that one of the biggest problems we had was pitching, right?
Yep.
And so if all of our pitchers are transferring, you might say, hey, we're losing our best pitchers. Well, okay, but maybe we go get better pitchers.
Well, we haven't lost any of the best pitchers. We basically lost the pitchers who didn't pitch. Pitchers who weren't eating a lot of innings. No one has left yet someone that we would be projecting to be a significant player next year. Basically what's left is now maybe some younger guys like the VZ kid, who I think is transferring to Clemson. He's got a lot of upside, but he's been on the team 2 years and hasn't been able to pitch his way into the rotation yet. I think they thought, hey, it could happen for this kid at some point, but to my knowledge, no kid has left that they beg to stay. And I see that in football all the time. I think people will be surprised a little bit over how many players leave and they don't beg them to stay or even make a concerted effort to get them to stay. Now, some they do, but it's not all of them. A lot of them leave, and it's like, this is probably the best decision for everybody. And in football, you've got money issues. Baseball, there is softball NIL money, as that's been a topic this week with the World Series. There is NIL money out there for softball, but it doesn't work like football does. And the money's not out there in great supply. And what little money there is out there is sort of reserved for the superstar. And there's not many of those. And, some teams have a concerted advantage there, like Oklahoma, Texas, and Texas Tech. And no surprise who was playing at the end.
Yeah, well, the one team that I think benefited from NIL and softball the most is Texas Tech. They have not been an issue in softball forever. They go out and get that girl from Stanford, and all of a sudden now they lost last night, right? I sort of
they lost 2-1. Yeah, they lost to Texas.
And apparently she gave up the runs but ironically, but she had pitched a great game before then.
She's dominant.
And it was a lot of fun to watch. And that's Texas Tech is getting so much exposure just from that, and that's the beautiful thing for softball.
Yeah. For those that don't know about why is Texas Tech an NIL softball thing, it's one guy. I mean, it's one guy who's a former Texas Tech football player, and his wife is a former Texas Tech softball player, and he sold his oil company for $6 billion.
Jesus.
And he has used some of that to fund Texas Tech sports, including softball, because they care about softball. She's a former softball player there, and that's why they paid $1 million for a softball player. And it's not that Alabama wouldn't want to do that. It's just, if you're listening to the show and you just sold your company for $6 billion and you love Alabama softball, they would love to hear from you at Yay Alabama. I promise.
Well, let me say this. Does anybody else, like, occasionally, I drive a lot and I drive at weird hours sometimes. So I just get into a rabbit hole of fantasies about, man, if I had a time machine and I could go back and get me some Apple stock way back when, and then I had a bunch of money, like that one dude who sold his Apple stock for like $500. Remember that a long time ago? And like, if he had kept it, he'd be worth like 11 billion or something. I was like, if I had $11 billion, and this is so sad as a 52-year-old man, but the first thing I think about is, the first thing I'd do is build Alabama a new basketball arena, and then 100%. And I wouldn't even name it after me. I'd name it after something.
I would name it after you, the Luke Dome.
I'd call it the Weather Girls Pavilion, because they sang It's Raining Men.
One more reference.
By the way, can you imagine more of a one-hit wonder group? Like, we're called the Weather Girls. We're going to sing one song.
I still remember the song, but I did not remember the Weather Girls. That's funny, though. They obviously named the whole band after their one hit.
I know, exactly.
You're like,
we're going to be a
one-hit
wonder.
We're going to be a one-hit. We got one song. Let's make the whole career about the one song, and they decide that going in.
I mean, how many sexualized weather phenomenon can there be? Hurricane of herpes or whatever. I don't know.
Yikes. You don't want that.
That also sounds like me in Alabama. Anywho, that's going to do it. That's going to wrap it up for today.
Roster ranking countdown. How about this?
Oh, God, we forgot it.
Well, it's number 56 is Big Mike Carroll. We do it in 30 seconds. Great spring, buzzy spring, lots of accolades, lots of stars. Sort of showed in his first spring that looks like he might live up to it. Don't think that he's going to press for a starting spot, but probably a 2. And looks so good at spring, he could be a second team right tackle. He could be a second team guard. We're going to see Mike Carroll. That's why he's 56 here on the countdown and not bat with the red shirts, but he's also not up in the 30s like a guy that's going to play a lot with the ones. I don't see it happening, but it could. I think a good comp with Mike Carroll, not as a player, not like he looks just like him, but I think he's going to have a Tyler Booker-ish like career. I mean, that's saying a lot.
Well, and I'm going to say something else. By the end of the year, Mike Carroll's going to be way up your list.
Oh, it could easily happen. And how about Booker? Booker did play as a true freshman, but all these guys come into different situations. I don't know, would Booker have played if he came in a situation where there's Jaden Roberts, Vandermark, and Cam Dewberry, all seniors, all with all this experience? I don't know that Booker would have played, under that scenario. But Big Mike Carroll, there's plenty of reason to maintain excitement about him even after the spring.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back soon with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.